Bush's policy in Iraq isn't working. It's working. It's just not working for you or for me or for the Iraqis, but it's working for certain interests. It's working in the way that empires have always worked. To say George Bush's policy isn't working is a senseless comment. It's not a political comment. It's not a politically defined comment. So discard it, because you have to say, working for whom? Whose interest? Cui bono is the Latin phrase. Who benefits? Who gets the payoff on this? And just because many of our liberal commentators don't know what they're doing doesn't mean they don't know what they're doing. You get it? And when you think those who rule you, when you think those who rule the wealth and control the markets and the labor and the resources of society and set the wages and define the labor market and control the media culture and all that, when you think they're stupid, then you're being stupid. You got that? Okay. If you learn that tonight and you don't know, and if you know that and you don't know anything else, you know more than if you know everything else, but you don't know that. So you got to really know that. Now, empires never stand naked in their rapacity. They never stand naked in their violent injustice. They don't turn to their people who have to pay the price of empire in taxation and the blood of our brothers and sisters and sons and daughters and fathers and mothers. They don't have to pay for that, but they got to tell these people something. And so they give their people a host of rationales. And this brings us to the darker myths now. I just gave you some of the darker truths. Here are some of the myths that, as you know, are always put about in this country and elsewhere. We're told that they're fighting for the security and the survival of our nation. We're told that they're fighting for democracy, for bringing it to others, for humanitarian rescues, to oppose dictators, to get rid of a man like Saddam Hussein. You see, right there, let's pause on that one a minute. How many of you have heard that? That part of this was to fight to get rid of Saddam Hussein? All of you have heard that, I know. How many of you have heard that it was the United States that put Saddam Hussein in power? Oh, this is a politically literate audience. Well, let me tell you, there are millions of people out there who don't hear it, and it's not their fault, because you can't hear it. You did not hear it on ABC, NBC, CBS, and what's that other one? I can't remember. So, in 1968, the Iraqis had a democratic popular revolution. They overthrew the autocracy. They kicked out the British and American oil companies. They nationalized their oil. They nationalized their economy. They were developing a viable, communitarian, different kind of society. The CIA picked out very early Saddam Hussein. His first gig was an assassination. When Saddam finally came to power as head of the Ba'athist Party, he went out there and he exterminated either exterminated or drove them into exile or drove them underground. He exterminated every constitutionalist, every Democrat, every communist, every progressive, every reformist in Iraq. And when he was doing that, and he was torturing people and doing horrible things, when they say this about him, they're telling the truth. What they leave out is that it was the CIA that put him in there. They leave out that little detail. They don't tell the people that. When he was doing that, when he was at his worst back in the 70s and early 80s, he was Washington's poster boy. They couldn't get enough of him. Saddam Hussein, he's pro-West. He's our ally. He's pro-American. They gave him aid. They gave him bacteriological stuff to use against the Iranians. They sigged him on the Iranians because they didn't like Iran's nationalizing their oil and all that. It's when Saddam Hussein started committing economic nationalism, when he got out of line on the oil prices and the oil quotas, when he made it clear he wasn't going to privatize his economy, when he started developing his country and committing economic nationalism, as opposed to what you should do in a neo-colonial empire. In a neo-colonial empire, if you are a faithful servant of that empire, you are a comprador leader. That is, you lead your people, but you respond to what Washington wants. You say, come on in, boys, it's all yours. Take it, the natural resources, the oil, whatever you want. Our people get out of line, we'll crack them down. You just give me the aid, give me the guns, give me all that, and I'll take care of them. And you take care of me, take care of my brother Jose, my cousin this and that, or whatever, if it's Latin America, or if it's Africa, or Middle East, wherever it might be. And there's no environmental protection laws here. There's no minimum wage to worry about. There's no child labor laws to worry about. There's no occupational safety laws. You don't have any of that trouble cutting in. This is capitalism working at its best. This is the way the free market is meant to work. None of those regulations, none of those kind of things. You don't have to pay your workers paid vacations. You don't have to pay them pensions. You don't have to worry about medical care or any of that stuff. This is straight free market, all on your terms. You can pay them 18 cents an hour and you'll get richer and richer. It's all yours. Those are the kind of leaders who are called pro-West, staunch allies of the U.S., pro-American. And the ones who challenge that, the ones who go against that, the ones who pose an alternative way of using the land, the labor, the natural resources, and the markets of the country, those are the ones who are called anti-American, anti-West. What is